Okay, good morning everyone. So, instead of having a live meeting for this morning, so let me share to you a recorded demonstration so that that is to avoid wasting our time. So, with regards to your final activity, the deadline is already updated, and that activity should be submitted up to June 17, 2022. And then as long as you can display the list of all the employees, the daily earners, the monthly earners, so that would be enough. No need for you to have a graphical user interface because we don't have much time for the creation of the graphical user interface. So for today, let me discuss to you Introduction to Swing Components so that you can have an idea how to create a graphical user interface also. So let me start. So these are the objectives for this chapter. Understand swing components, then the J-frame class, how to use J-label, the importance of layout manager, why is it that our class should be extended to the J-frame class. Okay, and then adding J-text fields, J-buttons, and tooltips, so a J-frame, the event-driven programming, the swing event listeners, the checkbox, button group, and J-combo boxes, or combo box classes. So when we say graphical user interface components, we refer this to the buttons, the text fields, and other components with which the user can interact. The swing components are descendants of the J component, and they inherit from the java.awt.container class. So to take advantage of the swing graphical user interface components and their methods, we have to import the javax.swing because the classes that are necessary to be used, especially in creating the graphical user interface, are coming from the javax.swing. Some are from the java.awt. So a container is very necessary because that is where we put the other components. So when we say container, that is a type of component that holds other components. It allows a group to be treated as a single entity, and it is defined in the container class. Often, it takes the form of a window that you can drag, resize, minimize, restore, and close. To understand the swing components, we have this window class. This is a child of the container class, but then the window class does not have a title bars and borders. So the window class is rarely used. Instead of using the window class, we are using either the frame, which is from the java.awt, and the J-frame, which is from the javax.swing. This is the hierarchy. No? This is the hierarchy for the class that we are about to use. The J-frame is a subclass of the frame class. The frame is a subclass of the window. The window is a subclass of the container. Container is a subclass of the component. And of course, component is the subclass of the root of all classes, which is the object class. So, to create a J-frame, so that you can place other objects within it for display. So, we have 4 options in creating the object for the J-frame. We can use the empty constructor, the constructor of J-frame with one parameter, which is of string type. The other one is of graphics configuration type. The other one is of string and graphics configuration parameters. No? So these are the methods that we can use for the components, no, for our J-frame. So we have the set title, the set size, the get title, and then, for example, by default, the set resizable is true, meaning to say you can resize your frame. And if ever you don't like that to be resized, then let's call this method and provide there in an argument false. You can also check whether the frame is resizable, and then by default, a frame is invisible. So to make it visible, we have to call the set visible and pass there an argument true. You can also, by default, the location of the frame is on the upper left corner of your window. We can set that at the center. So by specifying the size, the length, the width of the frame, and then at what location of the window you will be putting that. So the default is the upper left corner of the window. So for you to use the J-frame, so this is how you do it. For example, the frame is named first name, and then with a title, hello. And then the size is 200 pixels by 100 pixels. And then, okay, you set the title to my frame. So from hello, you change that to my frame. Okay, that is what happened there. So that's it. So you can also have this first name, and then you set the size of a frame to 250 pixels by 100 pixels. And then you set it to visible. So to close the J-frame, the default execution of the X, kanang nasa right upper right corner of your frame, when you click that, you will notice that the frame is the frame vanished, but actually it is just hidden. It is hidden. So in order to change the default execution of the set default close operation from hide and close to exit and close, we have to call the set default close operation and provide there an argument that will allow the frame to exit when we click that X icon. So, and then you can also change the look and feel of your J-frame. So the look and feel, that's the default appearance and behavior of a user interface. You can change the appearance of that by calling the set default look and feel decorated. So, for example, this is the name of your class is JFrame2, and then you call the set default look and feel decorated, and then this is the title of your frame, and then the size of your frame, and then this is now visible. So, for example, you have something such as you would like to guide the user to enter the last name, the first name. You need the label. The label is a text area. Not text area, but it is a component that will allow you to display something, but then you cannot write something on it because it is a label. So it holds text you can display, and then there are also available constructors for JFrame, for JLabel, and these are the methods for the JLabel. We have the add, the remove, the set text, and the get text. You can also change the font style and font color of your font by using the font class. So it creates an object that holds typeface and size information, and to construct a font object you need 3 arguments. These are typeface, style, and font size. Okay. So this is an example. For example, the headline font is set to Arial, bold, and then the size is 36. This is an example how to change the default close operation. So from hide and close to exit and close. So exit and close is a static constant of the JFrame class. So when you call that, you say JFrame.exit and close. But then if your class is a subclass of the JFrame, you don't need to specify the JFrame dot. You can just call directly the exit on close. The layout manager is also important. This is will allow you to specify what should be how the behavior of adding the components. Whether you will be arranging this into grids, or you will be arranging this into floating lang, or you will be arranging this to to the default layout manager of the JFrame, which is the border layout. The border layout is okay, so the border layout has 5 regions. So the default layout of the border layout, the JFrame is border layout, and it has 5 regions. We have the north, we have the south, we have the east, we have the west, and we have the center. Okay. So the normal behavior of a JFrame is it divides a container into regions. Is this true? East or west? Okay, ato ko nang i-try B. Later, I'll be showing to you the layouts, I mean the regions of the border layout. Okay, then we have also the flow layout manager. Okay, so when you create a class that descends from the JFrame class, mas nice siya because you can set the JFrame's properties within your object's constructor. Then, when the JFrame child object is created, it is automatically endowed with the features you specified. So, when you would like to create your class as the child of the JFrame, then use the keyword extends. So, with that, if your class is a subclass of the JFrame, then you simply call the parent's constructor using the keyword super. So for example, here your JMyFrame is a subclass of the JFrame. So actually, you don't need to say JFrame.exit on close. You can just write their exit on close. And then if you would like the user to enter a data, so pwede kang mutawag sa JText field, no? So with that, the user can actually write a text. And then JButtons, you can also have the tooltips. So for JText field, this is a component into which a user can type a single line of text data. JText field has several constructors, and the common methods that are usable for JText fields are setText and getText. And you can also set this whether editable siya or not. By default, this is editable. For the J button, so you will be clicking this with the mouse to make a selection. It has 5 constructors, and also included are the methods such as the setText and the getText. Also a method add, which will add a J button to a frame. So by default, when clicked, there is no resulting action when you click the button unless if there is an event that is handling the execution. So the code has not yet been written to handle user-initiated event. That is why when you click the button, when you run that, no execution or no resulting action occurs yet. The moment you add the moment you add an event, so that is also the moment that you can have a resulting action. The tooltip or pop-up windows, it helps a user understand the purpose of component in an application, appear when a user hovers the mouse pointer over the component. So it has a method setTooltipText, which will allow you to set a tooltip for a component, so that when you hover a mouse over that component, you will see the tip. What is that for? So here, for event-driven programming, when we say event, it occurs when a user takes action in a component such as clicking the mouse on a J button object. When we say event-driven program, it is a program in which the user might initiate any number of events in any order. Then there is what we call the source, the component on which an event is generated. And then we have also the listener, the object that is interested in an event. So to respond to user events within any class you create, you must prepare your class to accept event messages, tell your class to expect events to happen, tell your class how to respond to events. So to prepare your class to accept event messages, import the java.awt.event. That is where we can access the action listener, which is the interface, which will be which has one method as a handler to the button. So implementing action listener provides you with standard event method specifications that allow your listener to work with action event. Sorry. Okay, sorry for that. So, telling your class to expect event to happen, you add the add action listener to the component that is triggering the event. So, you write, for example, the button name is a button. You write your add action listener. You pass this as an argument if ever the class itself is making or implementing the action listener. So it causes any action event messages or button clicks that come from a button to be sent to this current object. So the action listener interface contains the action performed method specification. The body of the method contains any statement that you want to execute when the action occurs. When more than one component is added and registered to a JFrame, it might be necessary to determine which component was used. So you have to find the source of the event using the get source. Okay? So here, you have to import the event package. So this is the example, no? Your J hello frame is a subclass of the JFrame and it implements action listener. So because it implements action listener, the J hello frame is now required to override the method action performed. So this is what being done when the button press me is clicked. So this is what happened. There is a greeting hello, then whatever is the name entered by the user. Okay, you can add more than one event source to a listener. Okay. Then the setEnabled method makes a component unavailable and then makes it available again in turn. So you can pass their true or false. So understanding swing event listeners, classes that respond to user-initiated events must implement an interface that deals with events called event listener. So for JButton, we have to implement the action listener. Many types of listeners exist in Java and each can handle a specific event type. A class can implement as many event listeners as it needs. An event occurs every time the user types a character or clicks the mouse button. So these are some of the listeners, the type of events, and examples. So for example, you would like to move your scroll bar. So that is adjustment listener. That's for adjustment event. For button clicks, we have action listener. For mouse clicks, we have mouse listeners. For window closes, we have window listener. For mouse rolls, we have mouse motion listener. So for now, ang atos ang gamiton is the action listener. So create relationships between swing components and classes that reacts to users' manipulation of them. Pwede sa kamo gamit of checkbox to respond to the user's click. So if you are using JCheckbox, you can have the add item listener method. Then register JCheckbox as a type of object that can create an event, an item event. So the the interface to be implemented for this is the item listener. Okay, so these are the associated listener registering method. For the J button, checkbox, combo box, we have the add action listener. For J scroll bar, we have the add adjustment listener. Okay, for the J button, you can also have the add item listener. For the J slider and checkbox, you can have the add change listener. So if it's necessary for you to use them, you can try them so that you will understand better. So the class of the object that responds to an event contains a method that accepts the event object created by the user's action. Specific methods react to specific event types. If you declare a class that handles an event, create a class to do one of the following. You can implement a listener interface, or you can extend a class that implements a listener interface. If you declare a class that extends myFrame, you need not include implements item listener in its header. You must register each instance of the event handling class as a listener for one or more components. So besides J buttons and J text fields, several other Java components allow a user to make selection in a graphical user environment. So such as J checkbox, it consists of a label positioned beside the square. Click the square to display or remove a check mark used to allow the user to turn an option on or off. These are the constructors of the J checkbox. We have the empty constructor, the constructor with a string, tapos you have string and then boolean. So example, what would you like to drink? So these are the 4 choices. Meaning to say you can click maximum 0 or more, no? 0 or more because you are given with a checkbox. Okay, the methods for the J checkbox. Okay, then you can group them as one, such as, for example, for the ready button, diba? When you are using ready button, you only have to click once. So only one choice is acceptable. So you can group them as one so that only one can be clicked. So button group. So once na sila sa button group, only one is allowed to be clicked. Then you can have the J combo box, a component that combines the features, a display area showing a default option, and list box containing additional alternate options. So when the user clicks the J combo box, a list of alternative items drops down. If the user selects one, it replaces the box displayed item. This is the example of the J combo box. So to build a J combo box, you can use a constructor with no arguments and then add items with the add item. Alternatively, you can use an array of objects as a constructor. So just like this, you have English, Math, Sociology, and then you pass there the major array to the object of the J combo box. So these are the methods of the J combo box. Okay. Okay. So we're done with this chapter 14. Let me now demonstrate an example on how to create or how to, create labels, checkbox, text fields, then buttons. So of course with event, we will have that with an event-driven type of program now, so that you can see how the action listener is being implemented, how we create the action perform, and so on and so forth. So stand by, I'll be creating now the demo for the rectangle graphical user interface. Okay, so let me start now demonstrating the graphical user interface, the one just discussed a while ago, the introduction to swing components. Okay, so let's name this class Okay, we will name our class rectangle GUI. So, for our rectangle GUI, okay, so for our rectangle GUI, we will create a rectangle. No, we will create a rectangle. We call it rectangle because we will get the length and the width. So, let's ask for the length of the rectangle. So, the name of this should be rectangle. So, that's the title. And then, the width. So, the text field for the length and width. And let's have here button exceed and then button compute here. Then so this one we will name this length. This one is width. This one is BTN compute. And the other one is BTN exceed. And so we'll be creating this. And then for the border, for the layout manager, the default layout manager of JFrame is border layout, the one with the 5 regions, the north, the south, the east, and the west. If you would like to use other layout manager, so you can, for this example, we will be using the layout manager grid layout because for the grid layout, it has rows and columns. So we will use that. So let's create 1, 2, 3 rows. 1, 2, 3 rows with how many columns? So we have 1, 2. So 2 columns. Length, width. Okay, so aside from this, we don't have the, by the way, we only have the length and the width, but we do not have the result, no? So we will insert here additional row. So let's insert perimeter and the perimeter and the area. Okay, so we will name this, let's have this label perimeter, and this one is label area. So how many columns now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we have 5 rows, then 2 columns. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so let's create this. So, public class, rectangle, GUI. Okay, we will let this rectangle GUI be a subclass of the JFrame para matawag na lang ito ni Modrizo ang mga methods ni JFrame because it is now your superclass. Of course, we have to import JavaBox.swing because we will be using the swing components, asterisk, semicolon, and we will also import the java.awt that asterisk, semicolon, because this is where our grid layout is coming, that is from the java.awt, and we have also to import java.awt.event, okay, because that is where we get the interface action listener. Okay, so let this class rectangle GUI extends JFrame, and then we will let also this class implements action listener. Okay, So first, we will create the graphical user interface. So let's have rectangle GUI. So because your rectangle GUI is now a subclass of the JFrame, you can put everything in the constructor, no? Such as the creation of the JFrame, you can have it in the constructor. So this is our main here, public static void main string args. Okay, we will simply call the rectangle GUI constructor. So here, the title of our rectangle GUI must be rectangle, and then the size, we will set the size of this to, let's say, 500 by 400. Okay, 500 with 400 height. And then we will also set this to visible. And then because there is only one frame, we will change the default close operation to exit on close. So, let's now create the necessary components such as the J text field. We need the TXT length, the TXT width. No? We need the buttons, so button compute and button exceed. We need the label, so the LBL area and the LBL perimeter. Okay. So here, di na to siya ibutang above the super because when we call the constructor, the this is super, it should be the first line of the constructor. So ayan na siya ibutang. Alit na mag-instantiate that because so TXT length, new J text field. So, no need to specify the size of our text field because we are just using the grid layout. So, the grid layout has equal sizes of components. Then, TXT width. So, new J text field. Then, button compute. New J button. So, let's name that compute. And then, btn exceed. New J button exceed. Okay. Then, we have also the LBL perimeter. So, new J label. Okay, nothing, no? Nothing is to be displayed. Then, for the area, new J label. So, ready na to ang mga components. We will now set the layout manager. So, we will change the layout manager of this JFrame from border layout, which is the default layout manager of the JFrame, to grid layout. So, 5, 2. We will just change that if ever we are wrong. And then, so naka-change na ang layout. We will now add a component. So, first is, let's have new J label. Okay. So, we will let the user enter the link. Next is the TXT link, followed by the label. Width, then TXT width. Next, you add also the perimeter, no? The perimeter. Okay, then add the LBL perimeter. This is for the result. Then add new J label. So, let's have area, then add LBL area. We will also add the BTN compute and the BTN exceed. Okay, let's check now our let's see the output. Okay, so for now we will erase this because we don't create the action performed yet. Okay, the file name should be rectangle GUI. Okay, so capital letters. Return type required for the rectangle GUI. Okay, we will change this to capital U and I. Cannot find symbol J, text field. Okay, should be capital F. Then, okay, it should be capital U and I. Okay, so let's see the result. Okay, we have now this graphical user interface. So as of now, no event for compute and exceed yet. So let's override now the action listener. So implements action listener. So the action listener has one method, and that is the action perform. Public void action perform. Action event E. So we have the sources of event, the exit and the compute. So let's have here if E that get source is equal to button compute, what will we do then? Else if E that get source is equal to the BTN exceed, so we will simply call the system the exceed. Okay, so that the makalisten siya aning event, no? So the BTN exceed and the BTN compute should have this compute that add action listener. So put there this also for the BTN exceed. Add action listener. This. Okay. So let's try now. No implementation for the BTN compute yet. So but for the exit there is already, no. So it's now functioning. So this time we will do something for the BTN compute. So when the user is clicking the BTN compute, text ang makuha sa text field class now. So this is what we're going to do. Let's get the link. So let's have double that parse double. Okay, pasa na to ang gikan sa txt that link that get text. Okay. And then let's also get the width. So let's have double that parse double, then txt with that get text. So after that, let's compute the area. So let's have length multiplied by width. We will also compute the perimeter. So that is 2 times length plus 2 times width. This is the formula for the perimeter, no? And then this time, ato nang ibutang dito sa LBL compute, LBL perimeter ang result. So let's have LBL the perimeter that set text. Okay. Let's pass the perimeter. It should be text sa itong sungkayan like that. Pinakadali. LBL area that set text. Okay, let's have now area. Okay, so let's run this one. Computer is now functioning. Okay.